So today we're going to take our first set of real notes, so notes that are coming from our textbook. You should have received a notebook on Falcon Days that has grid paper in it. That's your math book. If not, you can grab another one, but ideally we want to use the ones that have graph paper instead of regular lined paper. You need to open to your first page. The way we take notes is we use both sides. You might have some experience with this if you were at Five Oaks as a sixth grader. So you need to have your notebook open with both pages. The right side is where we start our notes. Those are the notes we take together. So you know that everything that goes on the right side of your notes is going to be correct. The left side is where I'm going to have you do things like practice problems, and you're going to do those more on your own to test whether or not you know what we're doing. So two sides, the right side comes from me, it's always correct. The left side comes from you, and we will check for correctness. So we're going to switch to the iPad, and we'll start taking our notes. So here's how the setup starts. So you need to copy everything that is on this top part here. So this is 2.1, it's actually 0.1 algebra tiles. This goes on the right side. Our essential question is, what are algebra tiles and how can I use them to explore variables and expressions? If you are watching this video on your own time, you pause it where you need to pause it to write things down. In class, I will pause it for you. So again, the essential question or the idea that these notes are about is, what are algebra tiles and how can I use them to explore variables? Obviously, we don't get to use algebra tiles the way that maybe you would have last year or normal this year, where you get to actually touch and use them. So we're going to do our best to apply them online. We will be using 6 different shapes, different kinds of algebra tiles. And the first thing we need to figure out is, where do these names come from? So if you look, we see that we have a number 1 or a unit tile at the top. Then you have an x squared, a y squared, and an x by y. So you need to make sure you get this graphic copied down. So I'll pause it here to let you copy the graphic down, and then we'll start filling it out. So as far as where these names came from, how I came up with the name x squared, y, and y squared is based on the shape's area. So the names come from the area. So these are all rectangles or squares. So the area is length times width. So for this one, this is a 1 by 1 equals 1. So that's our little unit tile. This one here is a 1, and that length we don't know, so we call it x. So that's a 1 by x, and so we call it x. This one here is an x by x, so that is where the x times x equals x squared. That's where that name comes from. And down here we've got a 1 by y, so that one's a little longer than the x tile. And so that's a 1 times y equals y is where the name for that one comes from. So that means this is a y by y, meaning we don't know that length, but we know that it's a little longer than the x tile. So y by y gives us an area of the y squared. And then this one is a little longer up top, so that's a y. A little shorter on the side makes it an x. So this is a y by x, and so we just call it xy because we put it in alphabetical order. So here are the 6 tiles that we're going to be using for the next couple weeks. We're going to get real familiar with them. So we've got, again, the unit tile. The light blue are our x and x squared. The purple are the y and y squared, which are a little bit longer than the x tiles. And then our green is a combination of lengths with that x and y. So what are we going to do with these tiles today? We're going to start making piles and naming piles of these. So the first thing, we're still on our right side, that we're going to do is you need to copy this pile of tiles, and then we're going to write a name for the pile. So if you're watching on your own, you're going to want to pause here and copy this down. And then we're going to go in and name these guys. I know that these are unit tiles. These guys are X tiles. These are Y, and this guy is Y squared. So if I want to name this, I'm going to name it, I have 4 unit tiles, so I have 4 plus X plus X plus X, because I have 3 X tiles, plus Y because I have 2 Y tiles, and plus Y squared. So that is the long name, and we'll go over or later in the week how to shorten that, but that is the name for that pile of tiles. Number 2 is the reverse. It says build a pile of tiles that is represented by the equation below. So this time they're giving us the number sentence and we need to build that pile. So I've placed the tiles I know I'm going to need, and I'm going to start building this. So starting with the 2, that's my unit tiles. So I need 2 of those unit tiles. So there's those 2 unit tiles. Next up, 3 X tiles. That's this guy, so I'm going to get a couple more of these. And there are my 3 X tiles. Next up, it says that I need an X squared tile. Looks like I only need 1 of those, so we can just move this one. There's my X squared. Next up, it wants me to get a Y tile. And again, it looks like I only need 1 of those. So there's my Y tile. The next one it wants me to get is another unit tile. So I need another unit tile. This is not working. There we go, another unit tile. And the last piece that I need is another X tile. So I'm gonna get another one of these. And you don't have to write it in this order. They can be jumbled all over the place, that's fine. But there are the tiles that you need to build that math sentence. So you should now be able to, when you are given the tiles, write a math sentence, or when you're given the math sentence, able to place the correct tiles on. So this is your complete right side of your notes. So you should have the essential question, you should have the unit and the main idea, you should have this little diagram, and then you should have these 2 example problems. Now we're going to switch to the left side. So this is the you do side. So what you need to do is work your way through these left side notes. So here's 1 and 2. You need to copy these piles down and write their names. don't just write their names and look at the screen. If you don't copy the tiles down in your notes, then you won't be able to make that connection when you're doing an assignment later. You need to make sure that you do complete notes. Don't skip steps, because I know a lot of you are going to want to just write the name down and not copy the picture, but you need to make sure you have the picture and the name. So right now would be a good time to pause and solve these. If you're live in class with me, I'm going to let you copy these down, finish them, and then at the very end, I'm going to give you the answers to it. So pause, get these two done. When you're finished copying those down and getting answers, you're going to do B, where I've given you the math sentence and you need to build the piles. And I've shown you which tiles you need to use for each. So again, you need to pause here and complete these two. And then at the end of class today, Miss Gall will go over the answers for 1, 2, and for 1 and 2 here.